Hello, everyone. Welcome back to, oh, wow. There we go, live again, choking up. AWS Amplify and AWS Community Builders live coding session. You will see, excuse me, on the bottom of the screen, there is a scrolling ticker. If you want to join me live, you can come on in and join by using that. We do have my buddy Caleb on the call. What's going on, Caleb?
I did not know I was going to be live.
Oh, yeah. It's part of the fun.
And I should have got my studio mic and sounded all official.
Let me fix our background here a minute. It's been a long week. I'm trying to catch up with everything there. So yeah, just kind of to rehash and re-highlight, if this is your first time joining us live, essentially what we do, if you're excited to join, you can click or actually probably type in the scrolling banner there to come on StreamYard, just like Caleb did. And as we chat through, I private message the individuals on the stream with my VS Code share link. So let's do that. There you go, Caleb. Now you can join in on the fun. So just kind of rehash real quick. Let's throw on this. So where we left off last week, we were still kind of carving out what Next.js is, and we laid out this very basic kind of header, this middle area, and a footer, which, wow, someone put 2020 by CodingCat. That's pretty exciting. I didn't even notice that last time. You will find this repository. It's available at github/CodingCat. If you want to pull it down and do some PRs and all that funness, we've got AWS Community Builders live coding. So this is the project that we're working out of currently, if you just want to follow along at home. So what I did was I threw out a poll kind of asking, where do we want to take this thing? What should we do? And essentially the one that kind of came back as a big winner was a conference app out of it. So with that in mind, reached out. Natter has this cool conference app in a box that runs off React Native with the Amplify backend. So he's kind of done a lot of the work as far as a backend is concerned with this schema that's already created, which is pretty awesome. And so I think what we can do, hello, Nate. Nate's got some rockets, pretty sweet. I like it. So what we can do is actually utilize this backend that he's kind of carved out and follow along with his authentication mechanism to start to build out our front end. And maybe if we carve this out far enough, Natter would use this along with his React Native backend. So just kind of following along with his repo of conference app in a box. He's got how to deploy this out for React Native. I actually, before the call, really quickly threw this up into Amplify, and I was going to attempt to run it on iOS. And here comes the demo gods. We'll see if they'll behave. Wah, wah, wah. Am I missing this? I probably need React Native installed. Have you ever done that, Caleb?
I have not.
Let's try this really quickly to see if this will work. I'm guessing that's what I need. All right, I'm going to throw up. Oops. Hey, Gary Cook. Nice to see you floating around out there. Okay, we might have to come back to that. So just trust me on this one. He's got a pretty cool app set up for it. And in the README out here, he has kind of all the pieces that we would normally use in our GraphQL calls, and a list of the talks. So let me see if I can do a quick markdown preview if it'll look okay. Okay, so this is what his app essentially looks like. And I think what we can do is use this same kind of look and feel as we go through setting up our own version of this on a website and using Next.js, Tailwind, and Amplify instead of using React Native. And hopefully, once I know Natter's a busy guy, so one of these days we'll pull him in and say, "Hey, is this close to a vision that would align with your conference app in a box for React Native?" So let's start down this path. I do want to show you really quickly. Here is how his React Native conference in a box looks out in dev, just deployed directly. So he's got this API, and it's essentially just these three DynamoDB tables. So we're going to take and steal his code. If that sounds bad, I do believe it's open source, folks. Don't get scared. We're going to take all of this and drop it into our own Amplify example project. So we're going to remove blog, post, and comment and replace it. We'll see how this goes. Caleb, do you recall? Can we delete full Dynamo tables in a push? I always get a little nervous on this one.
I have not tried that.
So let's leave that open up there. By the way, were you able to get into the VS Code share?
No. Trying.
Is that my fault? Do you need another link? Let me know.
Probably not.
Cool. Okay, so I have updated this. We're running Tailwind. Let's open up another browser, or another terminal, I should say, and do Amplify. Let's do status first. Take a look and make sure I'm not too far off. It has been a week since I looked at this. Okay, so it has recognized the fact that we do have API changes that we need to go through. So let's go ahead and run Amplify push. So again, what we're doing here is I updated our GraphQL to match what Natter has out there. So here's our talk, our comment, and our report, which I'm not fully familiar on. And as we go through this fun little live coding project that we're building out, we'll do some research on his React Native version and continue. So let's answer a few of these things. So there's the secondary index piece. So I know they updated some of this. Let me just double check. I have the latest Amplify CLI. I always forget. Is it? There we go. Let's copy that real quick. I just want to make sure because there was some recent changes out there that you are able to do a lot of this now. Nate, if you're still out there watching, or Gary, or anyone, you want to come join Caleb? Oh, looks like I might have lost Caleb. And you want to come join me in this live coding experience? Feel free to jump on that StreamYard link. And sounds like Nate might be slightly busy, but yeah, if anyone wants to join, feel free. I always like hanging out with people live. It's a little bit easier for me to talk to someone instead of dead air. So as it's kind of rolling through, the other thing that I noticed in here that Natter has is a little authentication piece. So we'll want to dive into what that looks like as well. And just to show that off while my Amplify is reinstalling. Oh, Caleb's back. Lost him for a minute. So yeah, while it's installing, let me just jump back into Conference in a Box authentication. So he also has set up this Cognito pool, and let's just take a quick look at what that deployed like. I think we should be in here. Conference in a box. So this is the user pool that came set up directly from Natter's auth for the CloudFormation side of this. So he's got these parameters and things like that. I don't know if I could copy this whole folder directly. That sounds probably bad. But for now, we'll just add the Cognito part of that. So let me jump back over and make sure this installed. So it definitely updated some things here. Okay, so let's try that again and see if maybe it shakes things out a little better. It might still say no double GSIs. So for those of you wondering what the heck's a GSI, so that is a global secondary index on your Dynamo tables. Dynamo has a primary key and a secondary key, but then you can also create your own keys. And if we take a quick look at, was that on comments? Let's see here. So he's got this talk ID field. Not sure where it was complaining about actual deletion on one, but anyways. Okay. So we might have to do this the hard way. So it's talking about the comment table here, and my guess is it's talking about this one. So let's see if we can go like this and comments. Maybe that's good enough. Let's try that. I always get a little screwed up kind of between the GraphQL. You remember our experiences in the past, Caleb, of all this fun?
Oh yeah, I was having flashbacks.
So let's see, talk comments. So let's just take both those out and get the tables out there. This might put us even worse than I want to be, but let's try this. So I think what we can do while that's running, the conference in a box code already pushed up again. So let's take a look. We were taking a look at authentication, that Cognito side of this. Let's go ahead and dive into the API side. So let's take a look at comments table because this is what it's complaining about, and take a look at those GSIs. So I'm gonna make this a little bigger so people can see. So let's see here. Interesting. We have a couple comment tables. Oh, this could be what it's complaining about too. I probably have, let's take a look at the original code. Yes. So that's what we're running into. So we'll see if this actually goes through, and then we can take a look later. So what was actually happening there, and that's why I was confused by our old table, when we just had blog post comment from the original, it was complaining that we were trying to delete and manipulate the GSIs on that table, when in reality, what we want to do is just start fresh with this whole new model. And so when we take a look at this model, this also has a comment category or table or API, I guess, would be a better word. So it wasn't necessarily these fields within it. It was complaining because we were trying to manipulate those GSIs. And this honestly has been my biggest frustration with AWS Amplify is the table creation. It's not that I feel like it's wrong. It's trying to save you from causing yourself headaches. But this is one thing coming from a Firestore kind of background as a GDE, and understanding that these Dynamo tables are so dramatically different than Firestore and Firebase real-time database. And that's where we start to struggle a little bit in trying to get these GSIs and things like that set up. So a lot of times in Firestore, what you're doing is you have a table out there, you run into a scenario where you actually want to connect the two, something like this comment GSI is trying to do, and you would create a key on the fly. And so you don't have to worry so much up front for creating that. Okay, so while it's running, what I was going to do is just to show you, hopefully, we'll see here. I hope this is the right one. Nope. Yeah, so here's the talk comments GSI that was in there for the talk ID. So if we take a look at that compared to the partition key is just going to be ID. Pretty standard in an Amplify setup. All right, cool. Well, while that's running, Caleb, do you have any thoughts as we go down this wild road?
What is the wild road we're trying to go down? Because I got here kind of late and was trying to look at the Visual
No
Studio
problem.
stuff,
No problem.
which I gave up on.
It's a good rehash anyway. So this is our third, or I call it 0.2 version of live coding. And when we started out, it was just, hey, let's do something. And then the last one kind of got a little more organized. So we started out with Tailwind, and we put this project together just to get together, hang out, and start doing some AWS coding. Or it's AWS coding, some JavaScript coding or TypeScript coding within a Tailwind project and a Node.js project. So that's where we left off, and then we left off with probably the most basic of layouts in Next.js, and a lot of questions came out of that, which were great questions with the two that I had on live with me. And it was, where are we heading with this thing, which is kind of where your head's at right now. So threw out a couple polls on the AWS Community Builder Slack, Twitter, the Discord for AWS Amplify. And what we kind of landed on by a narrow margin of votes, so maybe we'll do more than one of these, was to take Natter's app in a box, or conference app in a box, which again, for folks just joining up, let's bring up the markdown preview. It looks a lot like this. So this is what his app looks like for conferences. I did hear him, I think at AWS with friends. He was mentioning that people have already used this and sold it as a product to people. So it's pretty, that's pretty cool, I guess. So what we're going to do is take this mobile looking version of it and create a Next.js application out of it. And I think it kind of will be nice to show off some of the backend features that we might need, and server-side rendering, static rendering, all of those different aspects for a application in Next.js. And instead of kind of, cheating's the wrong word, but it's the first thing that comes to mind. Instead of using a pre-packaged component library, we're going to build them all using using Tailwind CSS. So some fun that will come out of that. So last time we also went through and installed all of the Tailwind properties and needs that we're going to have to come up with. So if you're able to look at our layout, header, footer, wherever you want to look, there's a lot of items that are already in here that are very Tailwind CSS.
Yeah, I'll probably be doing a lot of Googling while you talk stuff like, what is Tailwind?
Not a problem. Yep. So Tailwind is a CSS utility library, and we will be bouncing in and out of it because I am constantly forgetting my own CSS class names.
Is it classes for layouts and stuff, or components, or what are we?
Yeah, so let's take a quick deep dive back. So here's Tailwind, And Tailwind allows you to it's not only utility classes, but well, it is utility classes, I should say, but practically anything you can do in CSS to a degree. I mean, you're always going to need some more CSS, I would imagine, but there's a lot in here that is pre-canned. There are some components that are already out there and that are kind of set aside, but it goes through all of the different colors, how to set up certain buttons, but it's all these utility type of patterns that you're going to use. There is another site from the Tailwind community. I believe it's this one. Yep. So there's components that are kind of pre-canned that you can drop in, but these are still Tailwind CSS, so it's still all the HTML with classes and things like that when you drop it in. There isn't something that you like npm install and have those built in. I believe Adam and the folks over there are working on their own version of that. I don't believe it. I know it. I just can't seem to find it right now. I think it's called Tailwind UI, I believe.
Cool. Yeah, and don't spend all day backtracking for me, but I do appreciate the
No worries. I
primer.
think we blew through it so quickly last time. It's great. I gotta throw this one up, Gary. Gary said cheating is a great word, I guess. Thank you, Gary. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of the backstory of Tailwind, and it was honestly good filler, Caleb, because I'm still kind of waiting for this to finish. So perfect.
Just like we talked about backstage.
That's right. Before we got on all of my ramblings. Okay. So on Amplify here in the back end, let's just try this and make sure it will actually work this time. So let's put back the comment connection and the talk. Let's see how this goes. If it blows up again for some reason, and folks, if you're like me and you're doing Amplify push all the time, you can do --y and it will skip the annoying do you want to fill out these properties, and it'll just start cruising. So I hope that actually goes through. So in the meantime, though, with all of that said, let's start writing some front end and see where we can get with this thing. So on our layout, we've got Tailwind kind of carved out, and we've got some navigational pieces up here. They don't really do much right now, but what I think we can do is start to take these pieces and wrap some Next.js goodness around them. So let's go up here. I really got to close conference in a box for now because I keep jumping over to it. Appadev says, I saw this today. You might like it for Tailwind. I'm not sure if he's posting a link, but if you are, I can't see it. Cool. Let's see here. Where was I headed? Header. Okay. So if we take a quick look at the header and kind of what we're working towards here, this is really hard when I'm doing the stream because I have to go to a lower resolution so that you guys can see it well. But I just want to show when you're running Next.js, so something like when I change courses and do like talk course, there it goes. See how quickly that hot reload picked up and changed that already? We're good to go. And that's just how easy you could change all the margins on these things. So if I went to margin 8 and saved, it would immediately pick up those margin changes. So just keep that in mind as you're working through Next.js. So let's take another look at where we want to head. Now that this is almost complete, so first things first, I should have probably done a deeper dive into Natter's layout, but I did not beforehand. So I'm going to open up his GitHub page real quick. Give me 1 minute here, folks. There we go. So this is the official GitHub repo for Conference App in a Box. I just want to take a look really quickly, just at some structure here. So let's take a peek when we have schedule in here and start to look at what schedule might mean for us. So within our app, let's take a look at, there's talks, which definitely have to become part of the schedule with time and timestamp. And then there's the comments portion of this. And let's look what else is on there. So profile map. Okay. So I think the best place to start on the Node.js side of this, let's go ahead and do an admin page for this. What I'm going to do on Next.js in pages, I'm going to enter a new folder completely. And this folder, it's going to be called admin, just for lack of better thoughts that I have going on today. So on Next, what you can do, your main page, as you saw here, in most PHP, HTML, whatever you want to say, index is always kind of the main one to go to. And if I go admin, let's just take a look here real quick. Serve that back out. Steal this. Okay, so now if I hit the admin route over in our Next.js app, you're going to get just the hello world portion of that. Now, a lot of times, and I'm new to React, so React fans out there, oh, cool. So app.dev, it was a link. Let's throw this up. Wicked Blocks. Wicked Blocks is an open source growing collection of layout blocks and components built with Tailwind CSS version 2. Very sweet. I will check that out. Maybe we'll review it next time. I will definitely put that in my my perfect pick for the week on our podcast coming up. Thank you, app.dev. Okay, so as you saw here, when we hit our new route, so original route, nothing on it, no path, we go /admin. I apologize, let me remove those. /admin, we don't get any layout, any styling or anything like that. But in React, what you often want to do is have this layout feature. So layout for us, when we created it the first time, it actually just has our header, and then it takes any children that we pass to it and puts those out, as well as our footer. So we're going to go ahead and wrap our new admin section with that same look and feel. And we might find later on that this doesn't work, and that we want more of a separated layout for admin. So that's kind of cool to leave it that way. What you can do in Next.js is you can alter this app section, or even better is an underscore document to actually affect the document pages. But this is kind of more modular so that you can change those layouts wherever you need to. So now we have that layout with hello world. If I come back to my admin, you'll see hello world with all of our cool like layout pieces in there. Now there was one other piece, and I don't know that we talked about this last time, but this header section actually is a Next.js element. So if we come up here, there's next head. And what that's doing for us is putting that back into our actual HTML head component. So if I come out here and I take a quick look, so we're in our admin section right now. You'll notice the title in here, there is not one. So what we'll do is we'll take this whole head piece, we'll jump over to our admin section. Not sure why I put that in layout. I don't know that matters. guess just to keep it simple, since React, you can only pass back one component level like that. And let's bring over the head portion. Okay, cool. I don't know why my prettier is not working, but I'll get that fixed before next time. Because it's really annoying. I am used to saving and then it just does that. Okay, so once that's set now, instead of create next app, let's just call this admin. And this typically, like this favicon, we would set in the document level. So we'll talk about that in a minute too. So now that I've got admin saved in the title, I don't think I have to restart. There should be a title. Yeah, there. So here is my title that comes out, and you'll notice up here, admin. Well, this is very dynamic. So I just did admin 2, saved it. See how admin 2 is popping in. So what you have to remember at this point is this is just a React app essentially. If we wanted to, what we could do is just checking some comments here. Okay. Well, what we wanted, if we wanted to, what we could do is actually serve this server side as well. So let me bring up CodingCAD Dev and I'll show you kind of some of the things that we can do with it. You know what? I'm not going to get into that yet. Let's just keep going and lay this thing out for Tailwind. So we've got our hello world. What we might want to do is start to create some components in here, and maybe there's, let's do another components level. So we have layout. Let's do a new folder. Components. And then we'll do admin, and then call this one app bar toolbar. How's that? If you go back and watch what we talked about previously, which I'll just bounce into really quickly here, in our TS config, I do have these paths set up, so we kind of have a place that we can easily access each one of these locations instead of doing the crazy ... We have at layout, and it's a lot easier to read and move those components around once you do that. So what we're gonna do on this admin page now is bring in our toolbar. So we have, let's switch this name because that's getting a little too confusing. Let's go to toolbar, copy all this, and I can use layout. So we'll call this admin toolbar. We'll need that. We'll need this. And I'm actually going to take Appadev's suggestion. Let's check out Wicked Blocks real quick. I'm curious if they have a pre-built toolbar. Wicked Blocks. Tailwind. Very cool. Let's see here. Quick access. Grids, forms, navigation. Let's see what navigation does. Cool. This looks like a ripoff of Tailwind. That's Tailwind UI. That's interesting. Well, all right. We'll keep going here. So what do we have? Yeah, we can roll with this to start, so I don't have to code all that by hand, right? So let's grab that. And then I actually, so when you copy this, all of these Tailwind setups, they're almost always used for straight CS or straight HTML. So they're not meant for JSX. So you'll notice this class, if I were to drop this in, it's going to complain that it should be class name. And so I always end up using a tool, HTML to JSX. So it's part of transform tools. I'd highly suggest it. It's really simple to use. So HTML to JSX, we drop it in. It gets us. It doesn't get us what I want. Why? Comment. Interesting. HTML JSX. Oh yeah, there we go. Class name. Okay. So you'll notice here it automatically flipped all those classes to class names. So if I come back over here, we're going to pass that whole thing back in. And then we're going to take admin toolbar and we're going to import that within our admin section here. So we have admin toolbar. It's no longer in our overall layout. It's going to be in our components. I don't know why VS Code wants to do that. Admin and then toolbar. Our admin toolbar can live right under our initial layout. And we might have to do some grid design here or some flex and see how this looks. So as that rebuilds, let's close that a minute. Okay, cool. So you'll see our footer still remained, our header still here. Looks like we'll probably want to make our header sticky so that we get a little more content. And then we can start to break this down a little more. So we don't necessarily need the icon that they had up there, but maybe we will take, let's go back over here. So I think instead of having our content here, we'll take that out. And then I don't think we need this. Here's some of our text. So let's do add, talk, I guess. Or maybe add talks. And again, anyone wants to join me, you can code right beside me. You can pick up any part of this component or components, and as you code, I save and it produces it out. So this doesn't have to be a one-person show. We could have up to like 20 people, I think, coding all at the same time. I think it'd be super fun to build this together. So again, the streaming, let me go back on screen a minute here. The stream, you can go right here to StreamYard. And once you're in, just say hello in the chat and I will send you the VS Code link. Okay, back to it. So right now we have add talks and 2 generic buttons. So I'm thinking add talks could actually become a navigational aspect for us. So let's go to our toolbar. Let's take and remove these buttons out, except for add talks, add talk. Okay. So let's take these buttons out for now. I copied all that and almost removed it all. So what I did like was this content portion though. So we'll see how that ends up as well. Okay. So now that we have add talks, there's another cool feature in Next.js that involves their router. So it's called link. So their link from next link. So in their link, they actually use this href tag. You still need an a tag within it, but what we can do is go link. If I could type href, and we're actually going to say on this href, we're going to take off and go. If you look over here, we're in admin, we're in the main part. We're actually going to go to a new route to do some of these talks listing. So we're going to do another new folder called talks, which will have its own index. If you didn't want to have straight index, you could also list these out individually, and we could talk about that a little further too. So what we'll do here is just have a talks route. And let's come back. So a lot of times in Next.js, when we're talking about the page level, what I often do is set these up to have mainly the data input output for the page itself, and then the components do a lot of your work. So anytime you want to shuffle around a component, you don't have to. The page knows the data, so you can kind of pass that down through props or higher level component or however you want to handle that. Okay, so back up to toolbar. Um, so I just laid this out so that we go admin talks, and then we're going to get a page. So our href from here, we can do admin talks. Should be able to watch this route out there. So if I actually had prettier turned on, this would look like that a lot better. Okay. So at this point, we should have a thing that's clickable. It's probably going to return an error because I have not put anything in there yet. So let's do another talks return and just say talks. Yeah, that is a bummer. I am bummed about that. So I'm constantly working on that. So I have a 4K monitor, and I actually take the 4K down. So I'll show this real quick so others can understand what pain I'm going through with this. So I take the 4K down to 1920 by 1080. And I know on the stream that gets a little difficult. So I try to ramp up this resolution as much as possible and still make it somewhat usable here. So great call out. Let me know if you guys are having a hard time seeing any of that on the screen. Okay, so at this point we have the talks area, and let's take a look here. So we have add talks, and I click add talks. The router kicked in, and you see talks. So again, we're sitting pretty good. A lot of wash and rinse, wash, repeat. I don't know what term I'm going for there. A lot of recycling of code at this point, trying to get from layout to layout to layout. But as you get this core kind of carved out a little further, it gets a little easier. So let's drop all of the, let's drop all that in here. This will become talks. Talks title. Cool. So now we have talks. And maybe instead of add talks, let's go back up and just say talks. Okay. So I'm noticing right away that because they had an icon for this, it's getting a little crazy. So this might be a good opportunity to show you some of the coolness that developing in Tailwind allows you to do. When you dive down in here, you can actually see these different flex boxes and things happening for this navigation. You'll also notice they have, let's see here, item center. Where is the justification going wrong? Justify center, MR5. So that's saying margin right 5. What I'm looking for is why talks is ending up all the way to the right. We've got MX auto. This is the entire nav. MR5, text small, text gray, ML24. Okay, so this right here is saying ML represents margin left, and M is just margin. So if I do that right now, it'll put a margin all the way around it. And these are just all utilities. The large is representing what size screen we're on. So that's anything from extra small to large to 2x. Lot in the documentation surrounding that. What I'd like to do is just kind of remove that altogether so that it goes like that. Um, so coming back to our toolbar, finding that was pretty easy. So we can take that out now. All right, so now we have talks. The other thing that we're going to want to do is set up another piece. And again, I'll jump back out to here's Natter's setup that he has. So there's a schedule of talks, and I don't know. I'm looking for votes here. Should we call it talks? Should we call it schedule and kind of follow the lead? Remember, this is the admin side of this. So on the front end, we could also have, schedule and profile and things like that. What resolution? Yep. Okay, cool. So I'm leaning towards just putting talks in so that's representative of talk. And so now we can start to kind of carve out that portion of the talk for Amplify. So let's go back over here. And now that we have talks, let's go into our talks. Talks. Okay. So instead of this content, again, that is this area here. We're going to wipe that out and maybe another toolbar. I'm getting a little toolbar happy at this point. Toolbar happy. I don't know if that makes sense. So what we could do in here is have our admin toolbar do all of the adding of buttons and things like that. And what we could do is also just pass another component into it. So I'll start out kind of simple and just throw a button on the screen and we can kind of go from there. So here's our button setup. And on our button, we're going to do an on click so that we can add some things. Let's do this. And talk. Okay, so if I do that right now, even though that's complaining about nothing, we'll just do. If I come back over here, there should be this add talk. That's the button. So it doesn't really look like a button the way this is laid out right now. Oops. So what we're going to do with this button is start to style it. And essentially, people think of buttons often like, oh, this thing's a component, it's a thing. And you know what? It's just HTML with some sweet stuff surrounding it. So if we check out class name, what we have here, background is the first thing. So we can do background, and then we're just using the same colors that Tailwind provides out of the box. So if we just did background black, this would provide a black background for it, which is not going to be so swell. So just kind of going with our theme here. Let's do, I think there's an orange. I'm going to check the documentation real quick. We actually use primary and secondary. So if you haven't seen Coding Cat, we are actually rewriting it right now. And we use primary, secondary stylings so that we can also use this cool utility for dark mode. Still a work in progress, but that's what's coming for folks. And as we do some new courses and things like that, we'll keep releasing that out. All right. So where was I headed? Got a little distracted there. So over in Tailwind, let's take a look at colors. Not colors. Let's think theming, I believe. Dark mode, base styles, theme. Colors. I guess there is colors. I just couldn't find it. Okay. So I think for just simplicity's sake right now, what we'll do is try to kind of match what AWS has for their Amplify. and we'll just use this yellow that's out here. So we'll do like a yellow 400-ish for all of our main button components and things like that. So that should align pretty well with the Amplify logo. So at this point, we're in this button. We're saying background and then hello. IntelliSense is kind of picking that up. Maybe that's not called IntelliSense, but one of the packages that I have is picking up that color in there. So there's some great Tailwind extensions. If you pull down this project, I think I have them listed out in the suggested. But if not, they are. That's the Explorer. Here's extensions. So here's some of the installed ones. There's a great package for Tailwind called CSS IntelliSense. Highly recommend it. Put that in if you're using Tailwind. Okay, so now we're back. We have add talk. It's starting to look like a button, but you can't hover it. If I were to run some of this around it, let's see here, pick that and pick that. Let's see what the grade is. AAA. So black on yellow seems like it is pretty solid as far. Ooh, you guys can't see this. Sorry. You know what? I think we've probably got all the joiners for the day. I'm going to shut off the scrolling banner. Okay. So what I did was I ran this plugin and clicked on the black and the yellow just to see what score we get for accessibility, and it's coming out as a AAA. So that's pretty great. I think it's the top. So what we're going to do now is kind of make this thing look a little more like a button. And what we can do is let's just throw some padding in. So simple things to remember like this is why I love Tailwind. So you can do margin, it's just M. For padding, it's just P. And then we can just do a padding. And these are all in rem sizes. Look in the documentation and you can learn a little bit more about that. We're also going to do a rounded. Let's just do a rounded medium and see how this turns out. So let's take a look real quick. So now we suddenly have a decent looking button. Still can't hover on it. The pointer works because it's wrapped in that. Is it wrapped yet? No. I'm impressed. That's. Oh, it's a true button. That's why. Sorry. I was thinking we had a link going on there. Oh, my partner in crime's out here. Brittany says yellow and black are a little funky on those. It will give you a AAA rating, but sometimes white can be viewed better. Ooh, good points. Cool. All right. Let's take a look at how we want to do a hover on this thing. So there's also hover. And instead of the 400, let's go lighter with it. Let's do background yellow. Let's do like a 300, maybe 200. I don't know. This is where I need Brittany's help. I'm glad she's out here. Maybe she has a good clue for me. So we're going to do a hover that way, but we're also going to do hover text and do a color on that text. Color. Oops. Oh, yeah. It's just text yellow. Not yellow. Let's do white just to see how it turns out. It's gonna look really bad and totally inaccessible, but so that's kind of the hover motion that we're gonna get. I don't like that at all, so we'll just do the background. Okay. So once we have that background going, we still have our button capability here. What we can add to this, and again, this is just one single button. So I spent a lot of time earlier today and last night talking about design systems. This is why you want them. You don't want to just spend the last like 10 minutes just in the basic design of a button. You want to get these things nailed down and into a package that you can repeatedly use. So just a just a tidbit there, folks. So now that we have that button kind of the way we want it, we should probably position it and all of those fun things. I think that we're getting close on time, so I'm just gonna ask everybody how they're feeling out there. Feel free to post a comment on where you'd like to see us keep going, but at this point, what we'll do is work on the admin side. So feel free next week, come back in, join us. We've got the Amplify backend rocking now. So we've got our talk, our comment, the different connections set up, query, a subscription, and we'll start to do creates. So we can click add talk, and we'll fill out the details for speakers and things like that. Typically I would have like speakers and different things, people logging in so that they can add their author pages. We'll see. Maybe we need to add some more Dynamo models in here, or some GraphQL models, or yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, just let me know. Reach out on Discord. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong screen. Reach out on Discord, on CodingCat. If you're an AWS community member, reach out there. If you're part of Amplify's Discord, we're out there too. So anywhere you see CodingCat, just feel free to reach out. Let me know how this is going, how you think it's working. If you'd like to see some additional things coming out, hopefully maybe next time Brittany can join, and she's more of the expert on design than I am. I just try to do a lot of the code and back end work. So awesome time today. I'd love to see some more people. I'll hang out here a minute and show you kind of where we're at with CodingCat for now, just as the comments come in. So quick little Q&A before we wrap things up. Feel free to post on Twitch or YouTube, and I should be able to see the comments flow in. So as we take a look, all the fun Tailwind things that you can do. So this is our old site that we're redoing. The Tailwind side and Next.js, it's absolutely amazing. The performance we're getting out of this. So we're actually using Firebase currently to do a lot of these login portions. And so when I log in, you should see this bounce through. It'll authenticate. This is always also doing some cookie token authentication too, so that when I try to hit certain pages, like our new courses that are going to be coming out, it'll actually secure our different videos for us. So you'll see there, that was the first time we ever got a cookie there. No, I'm not showing any of this on my screen. Let me back up, folks. I'll sign out real quick. So again, we're using Firebase within Next.js. We'll be putting a course out for all of CodingCat soon, so we can keep going Next.js, and you can check that out. We are in talks. It's been very fun learning more on the Amplify side, maybe switching from Firebase over to AWS Amplify. So it's kind of an exciting time in CodingCat's time frame. So yeah, like I was saying there, when you go into courses, these are actually static sites. This page right here is a static site, even though it's using some cookies to guarantee that our videos are only for members at certain points. Like this video would probably be an open one, but when you start to go into courses, the idea here is that you need to be a member as you log in for anything other than our non-free course. So these are backed behind server-side pages where we can check your authentication credentials and bounce you right out. So that's some of the power of Next.js, and that's what we can use for our conference app as we keep building it out. We can wrap our admin section with server-side security and things like that. Yeah, sorry, WL, great. I'm gonna have to connect with you. I need to learn how to pronounce the WL great. Will great. I'll get there. We've talked offline before. All right, folks, that's a wrap for this week. I really appreciate you coming on, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks.